Well, the Chicago Bears still suck. The Chicago Bulls can't seem to get a win at. It's your boy Big Bro. We're gonna talk about it right after the intro. All right, good morning, Chicago sports fans. Welcome to another episode of Chi-Town Sports Central. It's your boy Big Kev holding it down for Q and Steve-O. And what a weekend it was for Chicago sports fans. We got to watch the Chicago Bulls lose two more games at the crib, and the Chicago Bears go all the way to San Francisco to face a decimated San Francisco 49ers team, and only to be embarrassed yet again, running their losing streak up to 7 losses in a row. And this week, we cannot blame it on Matt Eberflus. Thomas Brown from the box to the sideline to go and watch up close and personal the Chicago Bears take an embarrassing loss. And frankly, the defense looked like cheeks yesterday, y'all. They looked like cheeks. The San Francisco 49ers scored first for the second time all season, going right down the field and scoring for a touchdown. Chicago Bears were down by a lot at halftime again, not putting up any points again. 24-0 was the score this time. They came out in the second half and put up 13 points, but ends up losing the game 38-13. And let's just be honest right here. Chicago Bears fans kind of felt like Thomas Brown was going to come out there and invigorate this team, imbue them with a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of ethic, a little bit of work, know-how, and so on and so forth. And none of that stuff worked. All the talk, all the superlatives, all the communication, all the practices, everything that's happened since Thanksgiving came out flat. Listening to DJ Moore this morning on 670 The Score, he was just saying, hey, the Bears they don't have fast enough starts. We already know how abysmal of a team this team has been all season in the first quarter, averaging less than a point. But yesterday was a new low. It seems like every single week the Chicago Bears figure out a way to make Chicago Bears fans see, watch, witness horrendous effort on the football field. That's just the reality of it. There's no reason for the Bears to have what? I think 4 yards, 5 yards in the first half of the game. A football team. It makes zero sense. So, Thomas Brown got 4 more games to interview, but if we're talking about an interview process for him maybe going to be the coach of the head coach of the Chicago Bears or go be a head coach somewhere else, he failed with flying colors yesterday. I mean, 0 points in the first half against a team that's decimated on both offense and defense. You let George Kittle go out there and rack up a game's worth of stats in the first quarter alone. Two tight end screens, basically the same play that marched them right down the field. You let a fifth string running back come out there and play like an all pro. Now we know that the Bears' run defense has been terrible all season, but yesterday was even more embarrassing. You couldn't get anything from DeAndre Swift, nothing from DJ Moore, nothing from Keenan Allen. Now, one of the good things is that Caleb Williams still hasn't thrown an interception, and the tuck rule situation didn't help him yesterday as he lost a fumble. But the Bears are kind of trying to get a little bit of momentum, maybe play themselves back into the game. But at the end of the day, the offense looked like cheeks. We don't even know if Cole Kmet is still on the team. Carter went down, and he was the best receiver for the first 2 games of the season, but he went down. Travis Homer is just not it. He's just not it as your backup running back. You didn't get anything from Rome Odunze until the second half. 2 touchdowns for that young man. Shout out to him. But right now, the Bears are just playing for the future. That's just the reality of it. Now, to be on a 7-game losing streak after starting the season 4-2 is just embarrassing. Everybody up and down the roster gets an F for yesterday's efforts, including Caleb Williams. Because it's one thing to not throw interceptions. It's another thing to constantly go out there and get 3 and outs, to get sacked. Did I mention the sacks? Caleb Williams has been sacked 56 times this season. 56. It's embarrassing. Beyond belief. It's giving Derek Carr of the Houston Texans. If y'all know who Derek Carr is, no, David Carr. I think Derek Carr is still playing. David Carr, Derek's bigger brother, came into the league, number one overall pick, and went on to get sacked 3,000 times in 2 seasons. That's what's happening right now with Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. So, Ryan Poles, you got work to do, my guy. You got a lot of work to do. And it starts in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Because for whatever reason, the Chicago Bears hardly ever get pressure on the opposing team's quarterback. Brock Purdy started the game, 11 for 12 with 250 yards and 2 touchdowns yesterday? Crazy. Crazy. They had Brock Purdy out there looking like Joe Montana, looking like Steve Young. Crazy work. So defense, get your stuff together. Because Jaquan Brisker is out for the season. He's not coming back. So Stevenson, that first touchdown that they scored, I don't know what Stevenson was doing. It wasn't like it was a play action. Johnson was out there getting burned all day and then chirpy when he finally did make a play after getting burned several times. Now you want to talk crazy? Come on, man. Come on, man. Stop it. So yeah, it's a good thing Steve-O and Q ain't here because I'm sure they would have a lot to say about how horrendous this team is. We sit up all day on Sundays and revolve our entire Sundays around, besides going to church, of course, but the rest of Sunday revolves around Chicago Bears football. And we can't even call this football anymore. This is not football. It's not. It's definitely not winning football. It's embarrassing. And if anybody felt good yesterday was Matt Eberflus because he didn't have to sit there up close and personal and watch this team lose another game. Now I'm not saying Eberflus deserves to still be the coach of the Chicago Bears because he doesn't. But the Chicago Bears haven't won a road game on a Sunday since 2021. They haven't won a game on the United States soil since back in October. It's December now. So they got to play in London every week to get a win. So I'm done talking about it, man. If y'all want to hear anything else about the Chicago Bears, head on over to Chicago Bears Central where Hayes is holding it down. I know y'all peep his new background, his new setup, his new studio setup is definitely pretty nice looking. Over to the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls are 3-9 at home. They lost 2 games this weekend at home, one to Indiana, and they're not the team that they were, and one to the Sixers. They lost to Indiana 132 to 123. To the Sixers 108 to 100. You can't even get more than 100 points at home. Now, it was an early game. They did play at noon, but this was an opportunity for Chicago Bulls to make up some ground in the Central Division, in the Eastern Conference, and they just fell flat. Just fell flat. They're now 10-15 on the season and 3-9 at home. To put that into perspective, the Washington Wizards are 3-19. 2 of those wins that they got are at home. If it wasn't for the Washington Wizards, who are 2-10 at home, the Chicago Bulls would have the worst home record in the NBA. Utah Jazz are 2-9 at home as well. So the Bulls have the third worst home record in the NBA. In fact, ironically, they're 7-6 on the road. They don't play any defense. Like that's part of the problem for the Chicago Bulls. They suck at defense. They're giving up 123 points per game. And again, if it wasn't for the Washington Wizards, that would be the worst. They're the second worst. They've given up the second most points behind the Washington Wizards, and the Wizards ain't too far ahead of the Bulls. They're 123.8. The Chicago Bulls are 123. And can we all agree that the Bulls are a better team than the Washington Wizards? They're not playing like it. Wasting immaculate season from Nikola Vucevic, playing his best basketball since he's been on the Chicago Bulls. Lonzo Ball is back. Matus Buzelis is playing okay as a rookie. Zach LaVine seems to be bought into this team at least right now. Last two games for him, he's been playing pretty well, at least from a box score perspective. 32 points in the loss versus Indiana, 30 points in the loss versus Philly. Starting to see a trend there. When Zach LaVine scores a lot, the Bulls lose. It's one of those things that's just odd. It's odd. Billy Donovan got some work to do with these guys. They got the rest of the week off because of the tournament. They don't play again until Friday. So hopefully these guys are taking a long look in the mirror and going to figure out how to play well in front of their home fans. Because I am a Chicago Bulls fan. I've been to games and they're not cheap. You especially if you're going with your family. If it's your husband, wife, two kids, let's just keep it nuclear here. That's a $600-700 outing with tickets, food, parking, so on and so forth. And for fans to only have been able to witness 3 wins at home, it's just not right. It's just not right. So, first quarter of the season for the Chicago Bulls, over. I give them a C. We talked about this before. I give them a C overall. And it's probably a C minus, D plus, to be honest. If you can't win at home, then what are you doing? You're supposed to have home court advantage. What are you doing? You allow Tyrese Halliburton to get off. He sucked all season. You allow Joel Embiid yesterday to have his best game of the season. Tyrese Maxey gets his first ever triple-double. Like, what are you doing? And the Bulls started off the game pretty well yesterday. They started the game off pretty well, and then they just continued to chuck up threes. Continued to shoot bad three after bad three after bad three. And this is your new Chicago Bulls. That's just what they do now. They go out there and they chuck up threes. They shot 54 threes yesterday. You shoot 54 threes and you only score 100 points, that is terrible. That is terrible. You took 86 shots and 54 of them were threes. There was a stretch in the beginning of the game where Josh Giddey was running a fast break and Kobe White was in front of everybody. And instead of streaking to the basket, he decides to leak out to the three. And Josh Giddey is making a smart basketball play, throws the ball in Kobe White's direction, but instead of going for the layup, this man is going to the three-point line. It's a turnover. Unfortunately, this is NBA basketball. I know it's not just the Bulls, but at least the Sixers saw that they weren't hitting threes and they went to the basket. They took 92 shots and only 36 of them were threes. They were 9 for 36 from three. And guess what? They won the game because they weren't out there just chucking up threes. Joel Embiid lived in the mid-range yesterday. He did take 5 threes, missed all of them, but he lived in the mid-range, 13 for 28 from the field. So come on now. Come on, Chicago Bulls. Like, I know you guys want to play with a faster pace, but that doesn't mean just go out and chuck threes. That's not what this is. It's embarrassing. It's annoying to watch. Once you miss 2, 3 in a row, do something else. Do something else. Kobe White, 3 for 11 from 3. Terrible. Terrible. Josh Giddey, 1 for 4. He started the season off well, but that's come crashing down to earth. Matas Buzelis was just chucking them things. Every time he touched it in the corner, whether the defender was in front of him or not, 0 for 5. Lonzo Ball, 1 for 5 from the 3. He played 20 minutes last night or yesterday afternoon. 1 for 7 from the field. It's just one of those things, man. The bench came in and gave you absolutely nothing with the exception of Jalen Smith. With 19 for 54 from three is just terrible, bro. You take 10 less threes, 10 more 2-pointers, you hit 5 of those twos, you win the game. 110 to 108. But instead, let's not even talk about the second quarter, by the way. That's when they did their most damage from missing threes. 39 points to 17 was the score of the second quarter because the Chicago Bulls decided they were going to continue to shoot three after three after three. You take 10 less 3-pointers, 10 more twos, and you make half of them and you win the game. It's that simple. But this is the modern NBA. Everybody wants to shoot threes, analytics, so on and so forth. A mid-range shot is a bad shot in today's game. You're either getting layups or corner threes. That's what the analytics tell you to do. So unfortunately for Chicago Bulls fans, they got to watch the Bulls lose at home, and then they went home, turned on the TV. By the time they got home, the Bears were already being blown out. So what a Sunday for Chicago sports teams fans. All right, if you guys want to hear anything else about the Chicago Bulls, head on over to Chicago Bulls Central where Hayes holds it down over there. You got Chicago Blackhawks Central, Chicago Sky Central, Chicago White Sox Central, and Chicago Cubs Central. Me and Big Mike did our crosstown conversation. That episode's up. We were able to discuss Garrett Crochet possibly being traded to the Chicago Cubs, what we want from the winter meetings starting today, and what we expect from announcer Lynn Casper, former Chicago Cubs TV announcer, current Chicago White Sox radio announcer. 2026 looks like he'll have another decision to make. We'll see if he decides to stay with the White Sox or head back over to the Chicago Cubs. NBA Central, where Hayes has been holding it down for the last couple of weeks as well, with NBA updates. So yeah, if y'all ain't following all our channels, y'all bogus. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, that share button. We appreciate you guys for all the love and support for all the channels. And we're going to holler at you all next time. Peace.